I've been really looking forward to this. I've been watching your show for a while, and it's kind of nice to kind of interact with an anchor of the community. So, like, really appreciate you coming onto the show, man.
Stop.
Oh yeah, you take that compliment. You better. Hello, folks, and welcome to Author Adjacent, a show about the journey from hobbyist writer to professional author. I'm your host, Michael Vadney, and today I am sitting with Nicholas W. Fuller, author of Shattered, a Sanguine Stars novella, and co-host of the Nerdy Nebula podcast. Welcome back to the show, Nicholas.
Hello, welcome back to the show also, Michael.
Thank you. I am happy to be here. You have turned the tables on me immediately, and you now have the floor, sir. Please continue.
No, it's good to be back. I appreciate it. Had a great time the first time, so yeah, I'm happy to get into talking about serialized fiction. Right?
No worries. Yes, we're definitely going to be talking about that. Last time we had you on the show last week, we were talking about your author journey, your podcasting, your writing, how you got to where you are today. But today, yes, we are talking about the serialized storytelling. And the first thing that I wanted to ask you is why this subject? Why did you pick this one as our focus for today?
Because I feel like I know something about it.
That's a solid answer.
Well, so this is like something like, and I want to preface all of my answers with I have limited experience with this. I am kind of getting into doing this kind of serialized fiction that I want to talk about, but I have spent a while kind of looking into it and kind of trying to understand this little aspect of the industry and how it's working and how, especially how it's working for the people that are successful with it. So, and I felt like that was something that I could talk about with a little bit of knowledge, and it might be something that's a little bit novel also. I feel like it's still, that we've kind of gotten this sort of, I call it the like traditional indie, like there's a specific way that you kind of go and indie publish, and this is an untraditional indie way to publish, but it can work very well for people that are doing it. So.
No, I've heard a lot of people talking about it too. It's literally come up in probably 5 or 6 of my episodes where
Interesting.
authors are talking about, I want to get into serialized, or I'm writing these stories as a pseudo serialized. So finally making it a subject and focus of an episode is very well timed, and I think people will have a lot to learn for the things that we talk about today. So
Nice.
yes, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So getting started,
Yeah.
Shattered, first of all, is a like a point 0.5 or introduction to the Sanguine Stars series, which you are writing as a serialized series, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And so that part, like, I haven't really seen other people do exactly that. I've seen like I think Cahill has an introductory novella for his mailing list. Like that's something that people are doing, and you've seen some success with that over like the last few years. Um, but the introductory novella into a serialized story, I haven't really seen anyone doing that. But I thought I'd give it a whirl. You know, I thought I mean, I had the the Shattered is like I said, it's a prelude novella for like the rest of the series. So in order to, like, I had started writing the rest of the series first, but I knew all this backstory, and I was like, I could make this into a novella, and that would be potentially an interesting entry point for people, and also then I could kind of hold a physical book and feel like a real writer. You know what I mean? Like, and also give it to reviewers. That was all kind of part of the calculus in wanting to do that book and do it first. And like I'm pretty happy with it. It maybe hasn't been like, well, I haven't necessarily marketed it in the most effective ways, and it's also not yet available on Amazon. I'm going to make it available on Amazon actually around the timing of, I wrote it to be either a book 0.5 or a 1.5, so I'm going to put it on Amazon as a book 1.5, which is actually advice given to me from people that know serialization and publishing very well that I talked to at Worldcon. So yeah, that part of it has kind of changed, but yes, it is written as an introduction, and it is a complete novella, but it also, as you know, does kind of end on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and the idea was to make you want to kind of continue the story and to have the rest of the story right there available was my thinking.
So what gave you the idea to write this series, the Sanguine Star series, as a serialized series?
years ago, as I was doing my own podcasting and talking with different people, I had the lovely opportunity to talk. I reached out to Michael Sullivan and his wife, Robin Sullivan. And I was like, I'd love to talk with you guys. And also, Robin, I'd love to kind of pick your brain um, about, as I'm kind of thinking about publishing and that sort of thing. And they both were generous with the time. I got to talk with both of them. I had a recording. My shame is I haven't edited that one and posted that one. I need to, the Michael Sullivan interview. But the Robin Sullivan was always intended to be just for me. So that one was just like me learning from her. And she's a delight. And what, again, one of the gems of the indie community, both of them. But just so forthcoming with all of her extensive knowledge and that sort of thing. So I was talking about how the story that I was writing was kind of a science fantasy, but had like progression fantasy elements. I was reading some other progression fantasy, like the Cradle series by Will White at the time. This was before I got into Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is technically a lit RPG, but I think lit RPG is very similar to progression fantasy. Um, these are stories where like the main character is kind of having like a leveling up, and they're getting stronger, like discreetly, specifically through the course of the story. So I wanted to do that with the series that I was writing, and she said, "Well, if you're going to do progression fantasy, why aren't you posting on Royal Road?" So if you haven't heard of Royal Road before, it's a website, royalroad.com, and it is a place for serialized fiction. Um, you can get on there and make a little, I don't, well, you don't even need to make an account to go start reading, but you can make an account and then start rating things and that sort of thing. And there's tons of different stories there. Some really, really popular ones like Dungeon Crawler Carl got its start on Royal Road. But also other ones that are really popular in like the lit RPG space, like Primal Hunter or He Who Fights with Monsters. Those are on Royal Road also. Um, and it's become a place to kind of build an audience. That's the biggest advantage of posting on Royal Road, is building an audience. When Robin said to me, "Why aren't you posting on Royal Road?" what I said to her was like, "Well, you don't make money there." Which is true, right? um but I thought about it more after she suggested it, and I talked with some other people. And like it is true that like on Royal Road, like it is all free. Like, so if you're a reader and you're interested in go finding some stories, there are stories there, and a lot of them are bangers and they're free. So the way that people make money there is that well, it's actually a multifaceted dynamic, which I think is actually really cool about the way this serialization works out. But the number one thing is that they post on Royal Road, but then they have advanced chapters on a Patreon, right? So you might have if you just start, you might have your first like couple chapters on Royal Road, but then on the Patreon, you might have like your first 10 chapters. So it's kind of encouraging people to go subscribe to your Patreon and then be sort of ahead in the story and get these advanced chapters. Um, so, as you're building readers on Royal Road, that happens, and that's sort of part of the like community expectation that you're going to have this Patreon and you're going to have advanced chapters and it's going to be available. They might also kind of like tip you, but like the Patreon is sort of the main thing that happens. What's neat about it though is once you kind of complete a book, you can absolutely go finish it and bind it and go put it on Amazon. I'm getting a little, I'm talking a lot about it, and I told you I was going to ramble about this, but this is
That's
kind
all
of
right.
right.
It's all relevant. It's all related.
Right, right. That was kind of what got me wanting to do it, was Robin Sullivan suggesting it, and then me kind of learning more about it and understanding what's cool about it is you could get to post it and people can read it for free. I think it's neat that people can read it for free. I also feel that like as an early writer, the number one thing that's most important to me is eyeballs. I need people to get like into my stories, and the fact that Royal Road exists as a place to get into stories is fantastic. But people can read it for free. People can choose to pay you like a small monthly fee to read more, which is great. You're generating that income stream. Later, you're going to have the book available on Amazon, which actually does bring it to like a different audience. Most of the audience is different, which is cool. Um, and then you can have it available again. You can make it available KDP. When you do go do that, or Kindle Unlimited, you need to make sure that it's like off of Royal Road, so that you're not, because it needs to be exclusive when it's on Kindle Unlimited. But Kindle Unlimited can be a big revenue generator for these kinds of stories. Like lit RPG fans are ravenous readers in much the same way that like romance readers just like are constantly reading. Um, so there's that with the Kindle Unlimited. Of course, you can do the ebook sales and the print book sales all on Amazon. And then there's even like uh, there are smaller publishing companies like Atheon and Podium that have kind of built their businesses on scouting, as far as I can see anyway, on scouting like people on Royal Road to go and bring them to Amazon, especially with audio. And they do all the audio work to create an audiobook. And you're getting your eyeballs, you're making your stories available for free, which again I think is kind of cool, but you're still able to kind of build this off Amazon revenue stream, which I think is also super cool. You're potentially getting in front of like these publishing companies that know that reader very well. You're still making money on Amazon, which is the main place that writers are making money. So it's just sort of like hitting a lot of different areas in a really interesting way. And by the way, like the whole way through up until like Amazon, you can kind of use these Royal Road and Patreon readers as like late stage beta readers. You can like if they have feedback on certain things that you want to adjust, like you have that freedom for sure. And that is something that definitely happens. Or they might find typos and you can fix it in the later versions. So
which
I
is
just felt like
incredibly helpful, I'm sure.
right, right. The more I looked into it, the more I'm like, this is actually like a really cool way to bring books into the world. And it made me want to kind of go down that path.
Yeah, and there are multiple success stories about it. Like you were mentioning before with Dungeon Crawler Carl, one of my favorite success stories of like serialized storytelling is actually Andy Weir, The Martian.
Oh yeah, yeah, right,
Yeah,
right,
because he released his chapter by chapter, and then people really liked it, and they were like, "Hey, will you put this in a book so that we can just buy the whole thing?" And he's
right.
like, "Sure." And now he's this huge success. He has
Yeah,
2 movies
yeah,
for
yeah,
his books.
right.
Which, by the way, if you have not checked out the book that the second movie is based off, Project Hail
Yes,
Mary, check
yes,
that out. It's so good.
yes.
It's
Oh,
oh my god. Just for a second, it's everything that's The Martian, but better. If you like The Martian, you will love Project Hail Mary.
right.
But getting back
So,
into
no, no, no,
serialized
no, no, no. We need to. But I'm so here for gushing about Project Hail
okay,
Mary.
okay, we'll keep doing that for a little bit longer. Then go
Right?
for
Oh
it.
man, like my mom had read that first and she was like, "This is really good. You should like read it, but I won't tell you anything about it." And she did do the audiobook, which I still haven't done, and I need to do the audiobook particularly before
It's
the movie.
really good.
Right. Yeah, and the things yeah, yeah. But she
Yeah.
didn't tell me anything and like I went into it. I feel strongly that's like the best way to go into that book. Just like completely blind. It was
Yes.
such a delight though. Like and I
Yes.
love like because it's Andy Ware, he does bring in like science and it all seems plausible even though it's fiction, but it made me feel smart, reading the book of
Yeah.
like, kind of going through and figuring these things out as the main character is. I'm like this is yeah, he is one of my favorite writers right now. He really is.
He's definitely one of my favorite sci-fi writers, and
Yeah,
I've been getting like more and more into sci-fi. But that is a book you have to go into blind,
yeah.
because I had a lot of family members that had read it first, and they were like, they've been telling me for a year to read it, and I'm like, all right, fine. I got the audiobook. I'll try it.
Yeah.
It was so much more than I expected. And I got like 3/4 of the way through it. And I'm like, this is pretty good. It's a 4 out of 5. That's very solid. And then I hit a certain point, and when I hit that point, I was just like, oh my God, this is a 5 out of 5. This is amazing. One of my favorite books of the year now.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God. People, go read that book. It's
Go
so
read it,
good.
yeah, yeah, and read it before the movie. I mean, because the movie's
Yes.
gonna be great too. I'm have little doubt, but, like,
Yeah.
read it before the movie, you
Yeah,
know?
I actually like the Martian the movie more than I like the Martian the book.
Yeah.
Um, if that happens with Project Hail Mary, my brain will explode all over the
Right,
wall
right.
because it was just so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I watched The Martian, the film first. I was on a like,
I
I
did as
hadn't
well.
really right? Yeah, the book wasn't on my radar before. But then I was seeing all the promos for the film, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds, like, so up my alley. I'm gonna go see this." And I
Mhm.
watched the film, and I loved it, and I walked out of the movie theater I was walking to, and I walked to watching it at, walked over to the bookstore that was right next door, and I walked right in and got a copy, and I'm like, "I need this," you know? I
Yep,
really like the book was great too, even after seeing the movie. I did like there
it
are
was good.
differences between the two,
Yes,
but the differences that they made were actually really smart for the different mediums, you know?
I agree. I
Yeah,
I I think the humor landed a lot better, in the movie than it did in the book.
that's fair.
Um, God, it just they
But the way they
tightened it
the
all
way
up in the
he,
right spots.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The way he opened in the book was so good for the book, but it wouldn't have
Agreed,
worked as well in the movie. No, so but the
agreed.
way that they opened the movie actually worked really well in movie format, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really smart how they just went through that whole conversion because you usually don't see like a as tight a conversion from book to movie as
Yeah.
you do with that. Like I would say,
Yeah.
like The Martian and The Lord of the Rings are probably like the best
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
back to serialized storytelling now. We had our fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Back to work.
No, but yeah, that's true that we're serialized The Martian. It's interesting hearing that story too because that was I mean, he was doing it on his own blog and he had posted some other stuff and apparently like he had kind of tried he took a year off from his day job of software engineering to go query and whatever and it didn't take off so he's like I guess I better get back to it and I'll just publish stuff for fun on my own website. But he got such like feedback from that and people pushing him to Kindle, but then also as he was doing it, which again kind of goes to the point I was making about Royal Road. He got feedback as he was writing it and serializing it and help him tighten the story and improve some of the science of it, you know?
Yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you. Two-part question. First part,
Yes.
at what stage are you in publishing Serialized? So you have Shattered out right now. Are you
Yeah.
putting up weekly chapters already?
So Shattered is available on my website. Go get it, right? But that's the prelude novella, and that's complete. The next story I haven't revealed the title of yet, but it's in it's book one in the Sanguine Stars series, right? And that one I have been serializing on my Patreon since like July, a chapter a week since July. So we've got, more than a dozen chapters out there. And it's getting to a really nice point where I'm really like introducing some of the most fun characters. So that's pretty cool. And you're really getting to like the inciting incident too. So it's starting to really kind of take off. So there's that. And I've been front loading chapters only on Patreon for now. Because one of the strategies that you do with Royal Road, apparently there's kind of some, you know, some ways to do it most effectively now. Um, but you want to when you're first starting on Royal Road, you want to drop a whole bunch of chapters in a very short amount of time. Um, like 20,000 words you want to drop within like a few days. Um, and the reason is because number one, whenever you have a new chapter, you get on like a broad list on Royal Road of new chapters, right? Number two, when you get to more than 20,000 words, you get to you have eligibility for their Rising Stars list. So what you're really kind of trying to do in the beginning is get on that Rising Stars list and stay on it as long as you can, because that's the thing that's really going to get you the most eyeballs, you know? If you
Yeah,
can
it's
get
like
on
being
that.
on the front page of the website kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost I mean, it's their version of a bestsellers list, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, and that's going to get you the most eyeballs, but you kind of got to have a little bit of understanding of how the system is working right now and how to kind of work within that to get there. So yeah, and a big part of that now is dropping a whole bunch early on. So I want to make sure that I have like my Patreon needs to be ahead of where that's going to be after I drop all those chapters before I start dropping on Royal Road. So that's kind of yeah, that's where I'm at.
No, that makes sense, especially since, like you were talking about earlier, once you do start publishing on Royal Road, you need to have enough of a backlog that your Patreon can stay ahead of it, so
Right.
that people can pay for that exclusive right to like get in there a little sooner and get the story a little faster.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
at Kind of curious then,
Yeah.
especially when you start moving into doing these weekly publishing, how polished are these chapters that you're giving them? Is it a first draft, or are you hitting it with like a second or third draft that's going out on
Yeah. So for me personally, it's like a most of them are like third or fourth draft, or like the first chapter is like an eighth draft. That one's been hit with a lot. Um, but like that said, I know there are some writers that are putting first draft up. There are some writers that are doing like more like a second or third, and they might have like some beta readers. Of course, like I mean, again, like if you're doing this and you're kind of having a little bit of success, then actually those Patreon readers can serve as beta readers and give a little bit of like feedback and suggestions and proofreading, so one of the things though, kind of to that end, that I've heard from other people doing this, again, I told you last episode, I'm a sucker for a compliment. Like what's nice is like what's successful here is generally like longer series, right? I mean, you need to do a little bit just to see if it gets traction, but if it's getting traction, then you want to keep a series going. um but as you're doing that, the fans that you have later on, like your fans in books 2 and book 3 and that sort of thing, they're going to be like invested in this story, and they're going to like the story. So the feedback that you're going to get most of the time at that point is like, this is awesome, I love this. And I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for that.
everyone could use a little more encouragement like that,
Right.
especially in writing, which can be very soul crushing
Right.
when
Right.
you're constantly putting out your work
Yeah.
and you have this like your little book baby and everyone's judging it. It's
Right.
very nice to get those compliments.
Right. Yeah. No. Like early career writing is a little soul crushing, because if you might get like a whole bunch of rejections from querying agents, or like
Yeah.
if you're trying to publish short stories, you're gonna get rejections. You know what I mean? If you do a contest, like there's only gonna be one contest winner. Like
Yeah.
there's all of that. But like yeah, there's this opportunity for a little bit more positivity, which sounds kind of appealing to me.
That is very appealing. I do think a thick skin is
Yeah.
incredibly useful as a
Oh yeah.
writer, whether you're going traditional or indie. It's something that will serve you well if you can maintain it. I
Yeah.
will say I am a bit of a softie, so the compliments serve me well as also. But you
Right.
kind of just have to take both sides of it and
Yeah.
just at the end of the day, you have to write for yourself. And
Yeah.
if other people like it, great. I will keep writing that particular stuff. But otherwise,
Right.
it's going to be mostly for me.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I try to have the thick skin too. Yeah. I think we've
It's hard.
got to.
It's hard to build it up, but it's a requirement for what we do,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's honestly not a bad thing. It helps you in everyday life as well with like work and job and just
Truth.
existence.
Truth, truth. Yeah. Yep.
So in Shattered, you're kicking off your ongoing serialized narrative.
Mhm.
You're planning to do the whole book of book 1 on there, and then are you going to take it off and, like, bind it into a single story and put it on Amazon or some other service like you were saying before, or do you have, another avenue that you plan on taking?
No, yeah, kind of what you're saying. Like the plan is to go serialize on Royal Road and Patreon, and then eventually like take it off of Royal Road and I suppose Patreon also, and then put it onto Amazon. Um, One thing that's kind of again, I've like been talking with people that are doing this, and like initially I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna go like publish it and put it out there, and then within like a few weeks of like finishing the story on there, I'll bring it all down and go put it on Amazon. And they're like, if you do that, you're probably not getting the most value out of like Royal Road. You want to have that story up there for a while in order to kind of keep getting those eyeballs, because it's not like dead when you finish it, especially if it's a series that's kind of ongoing, that's like maybe even gathering steam, like things
Yeah,
like
especially
Dungeon
when you
Crawler.
get book 2 or book 3.
Right, right, right. Like, I mean, some series keep getting bigger as they're going. I think the popular ones, the ones that people are liking, like Sun Eater, I think is another good example of, book 1 wasn't a huge hit, but book 7's about to blow the barn doors off. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
uh,
100%. Book 2 on that one really floored me, and it was hard for me to get through book 1, but book 2 is so good.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's that aspect. So I want to actually keep it on Royal Road for a while, um, before I bring it down and start bringing it to Amazon. That's actually an instance where I am like considering taking it a little bit slow to bring it to Amazon, because Like, and like I think part of the calculus for me is how much can I grow the Patreon? Because if I can grow the Patreon for a while and not feel like I kind of need to bring it to Amazon, then I can delay that aspect of it and then have more of a rapid release with the bound books when I do bring them to Amazon. But we'll see how that part works out. It's nice to be an indie and have flexibility and control, you know?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to make all those decisions yourself and not have to worry about 50 other people.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly, exactly.
so you said you want to keep it on Royal Road for a while. What is a while? Are you thinking like it will be done and it will sit there for 6 months, a year? What has like your research and your experience really said is ideal?
Yeah, probably. Like, I mean, what I've heard from other people is like a yearish. You know, a yearish to have it there, and then at that point, when you bring it to Amazon, you can pull it from Royal Road, and there's a whole mechanism for doing that. They call it stubbing it out, and you can see that these stories are now stubbed out. But when you get it on Amazon, then you can make it exclusive and then available for Kindle Unlimited, and that's anyone that knows indie publishing right now knows that Kindle Unlimited is a big moneymaker for indies.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I know there are some people who are very fortunate and they can sell their books either directly from themselves and they don't have to use Amazon at all. But for the most part, I would say like 99% of us are definitely doing it through Amazon,
Yeah.
definitely through the Kindle Unlimited is the core moneymaker that makes a lot of this possible for a lot of people.
Right.
But it's nice to hear like that there is this other option now because I have heard of people who do just sell directly. Oh god, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I know J. Alex Kagir is doing everything himself, where he sells all directly
Wow.
from himself, including his digital. He sells through like BookFunnel and stuff like that instead of going through Amazon.
Yeah.
And I've heard of a few other people doing that, but I don't think a lot of people have really thought of Serialized and Royal Road as a potential avenue for doing this.
Yeah.
And with the market is as it is and Amazon being Amazon, I think people would like to hear that there are other options.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice that other options are good and other alternatives. I remember, like, I mean, Brandon Sanderson's whole kind of impetus for being like selling his special editions was when his publisher was having a contract dispute with Amazon, and Amazon pulled all of the books from that publisher, including his, and that was enough of an impact on his sales to make an impact on his pocketbook, and he decided he wanted to be in a position where it wouldn't cripple him if Amazon just decided one day not to sell his books. So, but yeah, it's cool to see. Like, I've seen ZS Diamante does a lot of direct sales also. And so yeah, Patreon's, I think, an increasingly viable option, but then also kind of in a similar way, and sometimes with similar folks in the same sphere, there's Kickstarter more and more, and that's not only do you get like a bigger percentage of the pie than you do with Amazon, but you also get, like, and this is huge with Patreon too, you get their emails. You get the customers emails, so you can actually interact with those people, whereas Amazon, you really don't know who you're selling to. you know um so again, like, I mean, nuts and bolts business stuff here, but like, this is nice, really nice, and in those ways really good alternatives to Amazon.
No, this nuts and bolts stuff is very useful. It's a lot of the things that are a huge mystery to a lot of people. It's just a magic black box that you just
Right.
go, I don't know how it works. I just
I
know I
don't
put
know.
things in and something comes out.
Right, right, right,
So it is nice to like kind of shed light on all of these things.
right.
Um, Something I was kind of curious with writing a serialized story, going
Hmm.
more back into the art of it.
Yeah.
What are some of like the unique challenges that you are facing with plotting and writing a long form serialized story like Sanguine Stars? Like, are you writing it the same you would a novel, or do you have to adjust it and tweak it a little differently because you are releasing it chapter by chapter, week by week?
So yeah, there's two things that I keep in mind. I think, like, there are three things, like, to keep in mind. I think some serialized writers are really trying to make every chapter like kind of stand on its own. Which I think, like, it certainly has a lot of value, but I just kind of I don't think about that too much. I'm not too super worried about that one. In part because I know that I would overthink that and stress about it way too much. So that one I set aside. So then there's like two things that I kind of do think about. One is like chapter length. And on Royal Road, you kind of want to be like around between 1,500 and 2,500 words ish. That's part of the reason is because, like, I mean, certainly in a lot of other fiction, there are longer chapters, but in a lot of other fiction, there's easy ways to bookmark. And in Royal Road, there are not easy ways to bookmark middle of the chapter. So you need it to be like kind of bite sized that they can read in one pass. And that 1,500 to 2,500 has been what people found out is generally workable. Again, like any rule, there's exceptions to this rule. I know one writer that puts out like 6,000 words chapters, and like she's very successful. But those are kind of the rules. So that's number one, is like chapter length. The other kind of thing that I do keep in mind is they call it cliffing, like, so cliffhangers. You because you're actually trying to drive people to the Patreon, the more that you cliff, the more successful your Patreon's going to be. The more that you're leaving people on cliffhangers at the end of a chapter, the more they're going to be like, well, I want to know what happens next, and they're going to go check out your Patreon for that. um so I have like a ton of chapters that are definitely ending on like, wait, what? Like that sort of like idea is what I'm kind of going for. And you can see that too in like, even though he's not on a Royal Road, he is still serializing on Patreon. You can so see that in Dinneman's writing in Dungeon Crawler Carl. Like he cliffs on chapters a lot.
No, it's a good way to do it, even in like normal. God, traditional is the wrong term here, but
Yeah.
like novel
Yeah. Yeah.
publishing, I
Yeah. Yeah.
guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
is you do that because it makes people want to read the next chapter more. They can't
Yeah.
stop here; you have to
Yeah.
keep going.
Right.
I would say that that word count is like that's my bread and butter for chapter length, both reading and writing. I love my potato chip chapters because you can never have just one.
Yes,
You got to
yes,
reach
yes.
back into the bag.
Right, right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like it's a good length for me, like both to read and to work with. I think like for me, I've gotten a little comfortable with that, and like too much longer feels a little ungainly. But that amount is like I can wrap my head around the whole scene when it's that long, and I can think about it as a whole, and work with it as a whole. um so that part's really helpful. I will say, like, the one thing that I think is important for anyone thinking about this with Royal Road, you can post anything, but like I think maybe not erotica, I'm not quite sure, but it's very open to like what it allows. But the two things that are kind of most popular within this specific community on Royal Road are that like lit RPG and progression fantasy that I was kind of talking about earlier. And that's kind of specific subgenres, and if you're not familiar with those, then there are plenty of examples out there that you can get familiar with. So it might be a little bit tougher row to hoe if you're kind of outside of those uh, sort of reader expectations that they have in those communities. But there are other places that you can serialize too. I've heard some things about Wattpad lately. So there's some
I have
other
heard of that one. Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. There's some other
So
opportunities too.
So it is Sanguine Stars. Sanguine? I think I'm saying that right. Sanguine Stars. Is that going like kind of a progression, sci-fi progression fantasy route past Shattered? Because I will say I would not consider Shattered a progressive fantasy or a progressive sci-fi.
Yeah.
But where it ends, I can see the door opening for that. And I think, yes, okay, I'm
Mhm,
tapping into what you're
mhm,
laying down.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What can
Yeah,
you
no,
tell
this
us about that, good sir?
ooh, well, I mean, yeah, you're hitting the nose or hitting the nail on the head, and you're right on the nose. Yes, yes. Those are the two
One of
things
these
that I'm
phrases will
combining.
work. Just throw them all in there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you are definitely picking up what I'm throwing down there. And
Okay.
yeah, the events towards the end of Shattered that you are well aware of are definitely laying the groundwork for
Hmm.
a bit of a progression fantasy narrative. I do think like it's probably different in some ways than like in Cradle. I think is kind of the quintessential progression fantasy story right now. Or if you like, have you read Cradle, the series by
I
Will
have
White?
not. Like
Okay,
I've heard a lot of great things about it, and it's on my list
sure.
of I need to do this.
Sure. I'll use Dungeon Crawler Carl as an example instead. In Dungeon Crawler Carl, like the, Carl and Donna and everyone is kind of experiencing the system, right? They're all going through, they all have levels and whatnot. And I think that's kind of the normal approach to like progression fantasy or lit RPG. in my story, as you know, you can kind of pick up, um there's going to be progression fantasy elements, but it's kind of mostly centralized around our main character, and he's going to be one gaining abilities over time, and gaining power over time. And there may be some other folks that do too, but like that's not going to be like the initial focus, and it's not going to be everyone. It's very much not going to be everyone. So that part, I mean, there's definitely parallels between Star Wars and my universe, and like I'm perfectly happy with that. So I kind of look at him it like it's not the same, and it's not going to be the same, but in this progression fantasy universe, like he's my main character is sort of going to have powers akin to like a Jedi in a world where a Star Wars world where there's not, or not everyone is a Jedi, you know? Yeah.
No, I can see that. Actually, the way you're describing it right now, and from how I remember Shattered ending, uh, the way I see the series going, and please correct me if this is not what you're trying to put out into the world,
Okay.
is Star Wars meets Solo Leveling.
Which I haven't experienced solo leveling yet, so I
Oh
can't
my
speak to that.
god, you
I know.
need to.
I know, yeah.
I know you have limited time and stuff, and I don't know if you're an anime guy,
I kind of
but
like want to be. You know, the more like I have nothing against anime. I just haven't like it hasn't drawn me, but like I
mhm.
want to get into it more. So maybe
Ooh,
solo
all right.
leveling will be one of the ones, you know.
You should check out Solo Leveling, because Solo Leveling is very much in line with the idea of like a lit RPG or a progressive fantasy. But the like a high overview is, once your power level is determined, it is always that. It never changes. You are what you are. You can't be like, if you are a C rank, you can't rise to S tier. Like, that's impossible. And then the main character, through events, begins to be able to level up within a singular system. So, like what you are describing, it would be prime inspiration for you. I highly
Nice.
suggest it.
Nice.
Plus, the hype and the animation
Yeah.
of like the fights and everything, you'll feel it in your bones. It's so
I'm
good.
gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna have to add it. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Highly suggest it. But yes, going back to like Sanguine Stars, then, so we are going to be getting into that progression fantasy, or that kind of like lit RPG elements.
Yeah, that's the
Ooh, I'm
plan.
excited for that. That's interesting.
The other thing
So
that's
that's
like
going to be
different.
perfect for Royal Road then.
Right. Yeah, well, I hope so. I mean, there's gonna be, you know, like some differences, like I said. In some ways, I kind of think about it as I've been thinking about it more. I'm kind of it sort of has elements of like a superhero story, because he's one that's like kind of gaining powers and others are not, which is something that I need to like think about and experiment and like kind of understand how to market it that way. But um but yeah, I mean, there's sort of a little bit of that, but like a lot of it too is, as you might remember for the end of Shattered, he doesn't necessarily know what he's getting into. He just sort of does it, right? And so a lot of book one is like starting to understand what he's getting into, and starting to so it's not like a lot of the like more popular lit RPGs, and Dungeon Crawler Carl again is a good example. Like, you have a good understanding of like the system right at the beginning, you know. This book doesn't really do that. Then the series doesn't really do that. It's going to take a while to develop it, and you're going to figure it out as the character does, you know, and as the character starts to care about it. um but so that's a little bit different, but yes, I am hopeful that, like, you know, the readers on Royal Road and whatnot will give it a chance, and then come to like it, even though it is kind of subverting some of the expectations that like the community has from those more popular ones that have been around for a while. I think that that community is probably ready for something a touch different, you know. So
Yeah, familiar, but with enough growth to keep it like exciting and fresh now. Uh, I will not be surprised at all if people go into this series and make comments about like solo leveling and stuff like that, and like the reminder of that, which that is a
nice,
great comparison
nice,
to make. Like, it
yeah,
won anime of the year this year.
nice, okay,
So people are very hyped, very ready for more of something like that, where you
yeah,
do have like this single individual growing within a system that they don't understand yet.
yeah.
uh, oh, Okay,
There was
I'm
a
hyped for you.
nice, nice. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've also like kind of in my mind, I think about it. And this sort of makes me want to write like faster. We were talking last episode about trying to balance. I'm like, oh, I just wish I could like get this out like as soon. But like, I hope that it can also be a story that like people can enjoy in between Dungeon Crawler Carl books. And I think that a little bit of my humor, especially in like the later books as the series goes on, like I don't have like AIs with foot fetishes, but like there will be some things that should make you laugh.
Hey, one of the biggest praises I give Dungeon Crawler Carl is like there are a million jokes and a lot of them are great, but even if you run into one that isn't for you, it's going to be gone and you're going to be on to the next joke and like that and you'll
Yeah,
be laughing your ass off again.
yeah, yeah. That's very true. That's very, very true. Yeah, there was like some points since like around like book 2 or 3, or I think it was the foot thing, and I'm like, how much more are
The
we gonna
foot
get
thing
into
me
this?
too. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
then
that
eventually
comes.
he kind of moved on, and I was like, okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Dinneman. We're done with this one. I'm
You know,
sure
it's
it'll come back a little bit too.
I think like Dinneman did it for himself as much as anyone else because people were sending him like feet pics and stuff, and he's like, I don't really want this.
So now he had to transfer all of this energy onto his audience
Right,
because they
right,
were doing it to him.
right. Yeah, so funny. Yep.
Oh. So if there was something out of
Mm,
everything that you've really learned about like serialized storytelling and all the research,
yeah.
what is something that you would want people to know about it before they got into it?
So I think like again, there's some different platforms like Royal Road and Wattpad, and I think there's some others out there. I would say that and kind of to that end, there's also like some different fan fiction platforms, and that might be a good place to like gain an audience too. The thing that I think this brings value to is like gaining an audience, getting eyeballs, and starting to build awareness around like your writing, right? But and I think there's a huge value to that. But if you want to be like successful here, then I think you need to spend a little bit of time understanding like what are the stories that do succeed on these platforms and what are they doing and what are the kind of reader expectations of these platforms. It's the same way like you couldn't write Dungeon Crawler Carl and go pitch it to, a Pride and Prejudice fan. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to work. You need to know who the fans are, what they want, and then how to if your story that you want to write is a good fit for that, or if you can write a story that you're happy with that is a good fit for that. um I think that's the number one thing, and there are plenty of places where you can, I mean, you can get on the kind of different serializing platforms and learn directly, but then there's also, in the case of Royal Road, there's some different discords and Facebook groups and subreddits and all sorts of things where you can chat with other writers and learn from what they're doing and then have an understanding. So I think if you're interested in this, that would be my number one tip and a good place to start.
Yeah, it seems like the information is out there. You just need to
Yeah.
do the research.
Yeah.
A lot of this also kind of sounds. It's kind of like writing to market, except for
Yeah.
it's writing to platform.
Yeah. Yeah. But just to kind of, add a point on this and talk about the viability, there's, um, there are dozens of people making, uh, four figures a month on Patreon alone, in addition to what they're selling on Amazon. There are people that are making full time livings on just their Patreon. And then there are the real extreme places like the one that's the most highest income writer on Patreon. You can see this on a site called Graphtreon. It just like does like data from Patreon, but the writing category that makes the most is a Royal Road writer named Zogarth. And again, on Royal Road, you often have like handles like that, not your real name. That's at least the way it used to be. I think it's changing a little bit, but um, Zogarth, he writes the Primal Hunter series, and that dude is making like, I think last I looked, it was $75,000 a month just from his Patreon just for these books, you know. And again, that doesn't include the whatever he's making from Amazon sales and Kindle Unlimited and audiobook sales. And this is like a 12-book series, so there's a big backlog there where you know, and it's just continuing to grow. These books also, when they do come on Amazon for like those kind of heavy hitters, those are, and I was mentioning earlier, there's a ton of these like lit RPG and progression fantasy writers. Cradle was the same way. Primal Hunter, when these are coming out on Amazon, they are number one on the Kindle stores the day that they come out. You know,
because
it's
they have this audience already. They have
exactly
these people that are excited to read the finished and final version of the
Yes.
story.
Yeah. Well, and then there's tons of people too, which I find interesting because I'm one of the people that I subscribe to the Dungeon Crawler Carl Patreon. I'm like, I want to read the chapters now. But there are like a lot of my friends that also like the series are like, no, not interested in the Patreon. I want to have the whole thing. So cool. Like, I mean, you have that option, you have that ability, but I get to read it first, you know? Like, yeah.
Don't
So
spoil it for the rest of us. We're all very excited to see what happens next.
Oh, I listen. The most vague of non-spoilers, book 8. I encourage people to go subscribe to Matt Dinneman's Patreon for the prologue alone. It is such a delight. If you're a fan of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series and you're caught up, oh, so good, so good.
It's probably like one of my favorite ongoing series right now. I just
Yeah.
chewed through those books. They were so good, so
Same,
funny.
same. Yep.
All right. We are getting to the end of our time, Nicholas. This has been really fun, but can you please tell the people where can they find you? Where can they find your book and your podcast?
Perfect. All right. So, Shattered, lovely book here. It's available exclusively on my website, nicholaswfuller.com for now. Someday it'll be available on Amazon, but not yet. On that website, nicholaswfuller.com, you can also get a link to my Patreon where I'm serializing the Sanguine Stars series. Again, we're getting to some really exciting stuff there. So now is actually a really fun time to go subscribe. Yeah. Also, my podcast is Nerdy Nebula Podcast, where I talk with other authors and also have co-hosts, and we just have way too much fun. The vibes have been vibing. It's myself and ZB Steele and Dana Lindemood, who's in my in-person writing group, and my cousin Dante, and also Jeff Brown, the amazing cover illustrator. He was the last edition. He was like, "Hey, you're doing a thing? Can I be?" And I was like, "Yes, you can. Of course you
Oh
can,
my
Jeff."
God,
Like,
yes.
right? Yeah, right.
You have time?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was super cool. So anyway, yeah, Nerdy Nebula podcast. It's on YouTube. You can find it on the podcasting platforms also. Check us out. We're having a good time. We have a Patreon too. You can check that out. So thank you, Michael. This has been an absolute delight both weeks. I've enjoyed it immensely. And also thanks for all the listeners.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Like I said in last week's episode, like I've been really looking forward to this. I've been watching your show for a while, and it's kind of nice to kind of interact with an anchor of the community. So like really appreciate you coming on to the show, man.
Stop.
Oh yeah, you take that compliment. You better.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
After all of that wackiness, folks, until next time, let's be author adjacent together. Y'all have a good night.